Right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. For some of you, it's probably good afternoon, maybe possibly even good morning. مساء الخير, صباح الخير, أهلا وسهلا فيكم. My co-chair, Dr. Lina Nashef, and I would like to welcome you to this FQMS webinar celebrating Nablus. This is the second of a series of 3 fundraising webinars that we are holding in the early part of 2021 to replace our usual fundraising event, which is a dinner that is usually held in March. For the very obvious reasons of the COVID pandemic, it has not been possible to run our usual event, which has always been regarded as a kind of social, family and friends get-together, yet in the process we raise funds for our various projects. Alas, and hopefully just for the time being, we will have to be content with seeing each other over Zoom remotely. This, if anything, strengthens our appreciation of your attendance and support, for which the FQMS family is truly thankful. Last month, our webinar was a Jerusalem theme. Tonight, we celebrate Nablus. We have an exciting program for you this evening, which has a mix of distinguished keynote and guest speakers, a bespoke Nablus music video clip, a beautiful rendition of our national anthem with an accompanying slideshow of historic Palestine, and a question and answer session at the end. In every aspect of the program, my co-chair and I have tried to ensure that there was always a link of some kind to Nablus. If I may, I would like to just draw your attention to 2 paintings that we are auctioning. You will be hearing more about these from my co-chair, Lina Nashef, when she takes over running the second half of the webinar. You can bid on these paintings on eBay by typing Nablus ink and watercolor, or via our website by clicking the icon Nablus Art Auction. Let me tell you a little bit about FQMS. It's a UK-based and UK-registered charity which was officially launched in 1997, the brainchild of Professor Colin Green and Mr. David Walton, who were instrumental in setting it up. FQMS at the time stood for Foundation of Al-Quds Medical School and was originally established to support the first and the then newly created medical school in Abu Dis, Jerusalem. The remit of FQMS extended to include the support of the 3 other medical schools that were subsequently established in the West Bank and Gaza, namely An Najah University Medical School in Nablus, the Islamic University and the Al-Azhar University in Gaza. With the new medical schools, the trustees adopted a working name of Al-Quds Foundation for Medical Schools in Palestine, but decided to keep the initials FQMS unchanged. We aim to raise sufficient funds from these 3 webinars to keep our projects running despite the COVID pandemic. And thanks to your support and generous donations, we are fast approaching our target. As always, every donation, no matter how small it may seem, helps make our projects a reality. We are a very cost-efficient charity run largely by a group of volunteers, and we have only 1 salaried employee. We will aim to finish tonight's webinar by 7:30 London time, and are truly thankful for your attendance and your loyal support of FQMS generally and tonight's webinar specifically. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we usually start our functions with a welcome from the Palestinian ambassador to the UK. Unfortunately, His Excellency Dr. Hussam Zumlot is unable to join us this evening, but has asked us to convey his warm welcome to you all. Dr. Zumlot is represented this evening by Maysouna Shurafa, political counsellor at the Palestinian Mission in the UK. Ms. Al-Shurafa, welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. I would now like to introduce our chairman, FQMS chairman, Mr. Khalid Dawas, whose skill mix includes gastrointestinal surgery, endurance cycling, computer graphics, and of course, very efficiently running our charity. Khalid will give you an update on the FQMS projects. Over to you, Khalid.
Thank you very much, Ahmed, and welcome to all of you. We've got a very good attendance this time, and even better than we had last time. And forgive me if I'm going to repeat some of my things that I said to you last time, but we do have a different group of people. And I just want to summarize a few things that we've done over the last year, but also give you a highlight to highlight some of the particular projects that are relevant, perhaps in the context of what we're talking about today, An Najah, and the work we do with the University at An Najah. So I'm going to share with you a few slides. Technology has its problems again. I'm trying to just forward the slides, but they're not moving on. Anyway, I'll carry on. So what I wanted to talk to you today about the fact that we are visiting Nablus, and I have a nice picture which was of the sign saying Nablus Street outside the British Council in Jerusalem. In the last year, we've organized a gala dinner, which was very successful just before the COVID restrictions came in. We have also had continued our regular meetings as trustees. We've had 4 new trustees joining us and adding a lot more variety to the board that we have. We've also had changes in our governance. So the Charity Commission met up with us in the middle part of last year and I think commended us on the processes that we have in place at the moment, but also gave us some advice as to how we can also improve further. Now, the FQMS focuses on several different projects, and we work through the medical schools. And our targets are really to try and improve as much as possible by contributing to Palestinian medical health and also through education primarily. Now, this is a long-standing association that we've had, and Ahmed has alluded to that. Started before 1997, because 1997 was when we were established as a charity in the UK. But the work that Colin Green had established before that started in the mid 1990s. And one of the things that we're proud of is that our administration costs are less than 15%. So we do try and get as much benefit and as much output for the buck that we get from the donors. One of the projects that I want to focus on today, and that's the main part of my talk today, is to talk to you about the Juzoor program that we call the Juzoor program, which is in a partnership with the Juzoor Fund based in Ramallah and Jerusalem. So a few years ago, roughly about 8 years ago, we approached the Arab Fund for Economic and Social Development, which is based in Kuwait, and for funds to try and to devise a program which would help bring Palestinian doctors to the UK for 2 years at a time. They would then benefit from having super specialist training and experience in the UK, and then they would go back to Palestine and use those skills and extra knowledge that they've gained for their benefit and for the benefit of the Palestinian health system. So as part of that, we've developed very close associations with the for Juzoor for Health and Social Development. And today we're delighted to have with us Dr. Umaiyeh Khammash, who is the director. But in the past, we've also dealt with the rest of his team, Dr. Salwa Najab, who is a specialist in women's health, and the rest of the very big team that they have, who we have visited on several occasions when we visit Palestine. And as a result of that, we have, in the last 8 years, had 13 trainees coming from Palestine in a variety of specialties, ranging from orthopedics, pediatric cardiology, gynecology, hematology, pathology, and so on and so forth. And the way we've selected these candidates is with the help of Juzoor. The candidates apply to Juzoor in Ramallah and Jerusalem. We then help with selecting the candidates, and then the team based in the UK, which is very much FQMS based, will allocate them a hospital based on contacts that we've developed over the years. So the hospitals that we've been able successfully to match our candidates to have been hospitals in London like King's College, University College, hospitals in Southampton, in Bristol, in Cambridge, and in Reading. And out of the 13 candidates who started in 2014, 5 are already in place in Palestine and working, and 1 or 2 who required further training beyond the 2 years. So, for example, a specialty like pediatric cardiology is a very niche specialty which requires a lot of experience And it's very difficult to get that kind of experience within 1 or 2 years. The candidate we have who is with us at the moment has extended that time to get even further training so that when he goes back to Palestine, really he'll be able to fulfill his mission and use those skills and hopefully bring people around him to learn from the experiences that he's learned. I'd like to mention in my final remarks a few people that have made a huge impact and a huge amount of donations to our charity. So Dalia Salam Rishani, Omar and Ghali Al-Qattan and David Shav have really been loyal supporters for many, many years. And particularly Dalia and Omar and Ghalia have supported us every year for as long as I can remember, and we are indebted to them. They set an example, and we hope that the funding that they've provided us is always going to go to a worthy cause. But of course, as Ahmed said, we're keen that everybody who is able to can support us because every pound really does count. And I'd like to just thank some of our partner charities, which include people like Juzoor, the Madrina Trust, MAP, the Arab Fund, the Royal Colleges, and others. And with that, I hand back to Ahmed.
Thank you, Khalid, for that update. Indeed, you're right. The charity did start its work probably in 1995, before it was officially launched in 1997. Simply, there was some delay in getting all the paperwork done, but Colin Green was very keen to get the ball rolling and started raising funds very early on in the process. So thank you very much for pointing that out, Khalid. Ladies and gentlemen, I now want to introduce our keynote speaker, and it is with great pleasure that I do so. He is Mr. Sabih Al-Masri, who is a businessman of Palestinian origin, born in Nablus in 1937. Mr. Masri's early education and formative years were, in fact, in Nablus. He then went to the States and graduated with a degree in chemical engineering from the University of Texas, Austin in the USA in 1963. Since then, he has had an illustrious career as a businessman, an investor, and a banker in Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Palestine. Mr. Masri is founder and chairman of the Arab Supply and Trading Company, and is also chairman of the Arab Bank, Zara Investment Holding Company, and the Palestinian telecommunication group Paltel, amongst other companies. Mr. Masri is chairman of the board of trustees of An Najah National University, and he was thus the ideal person to give our keynote speech tonight. We were delighted that he was willing to contribute to our webinar through a specially pre-recorded video clip. Welcome, Mr. Masri, and thank you again for contributing tonight.
Hello, everyone. It is an honor to participate in this fundraising event, and I want to thank the organizers whose work has had substantial impact on the development of medical education in Palestine. Your continuous, generous support is very important to further advance this noble cause. An Najah University started as a school and evolved into a college to later become a full-fledged university. Now An Najah National University is a vibrant hub of learning which nourishes science, knowledge, and understanding, providing the highest quality undergraduate and graduate education, and serving as a leader in scientific research in Palestine. It is a source of national pride and plays an important role in preserving Palestinian heritage. An Najah is also a leader in the development of medical education in Palestine. The Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences, with its internationally recognized faculty, is currently home to 4,000 bright students from different parts of Palestine. An Najah National University Hospital, established in 2013, is considered one of the Palestine's leading healthcare institutions. It is currently the only provider of medical services in terms of advanced electrophysiology, complex open heart surgery, and bone marrow transplant to treat leukemia for both adults and children. Through the hospital and medical programs, our university aims to promote a culture of scientific excellence and empower the next generation of Palestinian leaders. I want to thank you for participating in this virtual fundraising campaign under the difficult circumstances to which we live in, to support medical education in Palestine and create a difference in the lives of our students and staff. Before I go, I would like to tell you why I'm so committed to An Najah. I spent more than 10 years at An Najah, from kindergarten to high school, and it taught me tolerance, acceptance, and respect of others, and how to appreciate differences. It also taught me that forgiveness and openness are the best way to overcome the many challenges we face in life. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Mr. Masri, for your contribution. I particularly like the last part about your experience with An Najah and what Najah taught you in life. We would now like to play a bespoke music video clip of Nablus and its people. This clip was produced by two Nablusi cameramen and film producers, Ala Badani and Muhyiddin Hawji, of MAC International Media Production in Palestine. They have both worked on a number of promotional films of Nablus. As well as being a company general manager, Ala is also a lecturer in photojournalism at Birzeit University, whilst Muhyiddin specializes in advertising production and the filmmaking side of photography and montage. We are most grateful to Ala and Muhyiddin for gifting FQMS this video clip. I would also like to thank my dear friend Zahi Anabtawi for facilitating the link with Ala and Muhyiddin.
هلا بيك هلا بيك يا المحبوب هلا بيك.
هلا نابلس, you are welcome.
يا هلا بنابلس.
يا هلا.
يا هلا في نابلس.
مشغول بترابه عنوانها أهل الوفا محفور عبوابه دم الوفا طهر ودفا مشغول بترابه نابلس شمس بالضل تضوي السهل والتل مثل العروس الطل تستقبل أحبابها تستقبل أحبابها نابلس إلها رجالها والوفا عهدها والشمس رجالها والوفا عهدك، والشمس ضرة بشالها والسيف بيدها، قلعة وما بتهز الريح، التاريخ بيعرف همي، عيرادك تصرخ والسيف مين بيتحدى، والبلد قدام.
Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is a very special person, aptly referred to as the Matriarch of the Palestinian Community in the United Kingdom. She was born and raised in Nablus in the decade before Al-Nakba. She then moved to Jordan and Lebanon, and then made London her second home in the 1970s. She is a dedicated fundraiser and for over 6 decades has helped various charities in the Middle East and the UK raise much needed funds for a myriad of Palestinian philanthropic causes. She is particularly passionate about raising funds to support education and learning for Palestinian youth. She is, of course, Mrs. Ghada Hammad, but better known to most of us as Imm Ali. We are truly delighted that Imm Ali was able to play part in tonight's event and tell us some of the anecdotes about Nablus. The subject matter was so close to her heart that despite her personal difficulties and the technical challenges involved, Imm Ali persevered and sent us a video recording of her speech. I am sure you will agree with me that it is indeed very special. We thank her for producing this, and we also thank her daughter Abir for managing this Herculean task of making it happen.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أنا غادة حماد أم علي، عميد الجالية الفلسطينية في بريطانيا. أسعدني كثيرا حينما دعتني جمعية FQMS بالاشتراك معها في هذه الليلة الكريمة للحديث عن نابلس عروس فلسطين مسقط رأسي. نابلس إحدى أكبر المدن الفلسطينية وأكثرها سكانا وأهمها موقعا، وهي مقرا لأكبر جامعات فلسطين، وتعتبر مركزا لشمال الضفة الغربية، إضافة إلى كونها عاصمة لمحافظة نابلس التي تضم 56 قرية، ويقدر عدد سكانها ما يقارب 400,000 نسمة. كما أنها تعرف أيضا بأسماء جبل النار، دمشق الصغرى، ومركز العلماء، وملكة فلسطين غير المتوجة. بالنسبة لنا نحن أبناء المدينة، فنابلس هي النضال والعلم والثقافة والشعر والصناعة والتجارة والتكاتف ونموذج التعايش. نابلس جمعتنا مسلمين ومسيحيين وسامريين كعائلة واحدة، حيث كان يصومون جيراننا المسيحيون في رمضان المبارك، وكنا نضيء شجرة عيد الميلاد معهم في أعيادهم المجيدة، كما كانوا يحتفلون معنا في أعيادنا، ونحتفل أيضا مع السامريين في عيد العرس. لكن للتجوال في بلدة نابلس القديمة، فنابلس في الصباح والمساء لها طعما آخر، حيث الكنيسة بكتف الجامع، وحيث تشعر وأنت تسير وتتجول في الشوارع كأنك تعبر التاريخ مترافقا مع الروائح الشهية في الشوارع، حيث تختلط رائحة الكنافة النابلسية مع المشاوي والكلاج والمسخن بالطابون ورائحة قلي التمرية وقز التوم اللذيذ وغيرها من الأطباق النابلسية الشهية، ومع رائحة الصابون النابلسي المنبعث من الصبانات، وتترافق مع أصوات الباعة المتجولين وهم ينادون سحلب سحلب، حاملة يا ملانة، حاملة يا ملانة، أصابيع الببو يا خيار، أصابيع الببو يا خيار، وعالسكين يا بطيخ، وعالسكين يا بطيخ. والأهم من ذلك الوجوه المبتسمة والمرحبة. نابلس مسقط أكرم زعاتر وعادل، إبراهيم طوقان وفدوى طوقان، حاج محمد عزت دروزي وفادي الطاهر وبسام الشكعي وظافر المصري. والقائمة تطول، والاستمرار في الحديث عن نابلس لا ولن ينتهي. عشت في لندن منذ أوائل السبعينات، والجميع يعرف كل السنين التي قضيتها في لندن، وقلبي دائما مع بلدي وشعبي فلسطين. وأصبح هدفي أن أجمع الجالية الفلسطينية في هذا البلد، وانضممت إلى بعض الجمعيات الخيرية لمساعدة أبناء فلسطين، وبالذات الطلاب المحتاجين، وبالأخص جمعية FQMS التي كان لي الشرف العظيم بالمساهمة في تأسيسها. ولا أزال أدعم هذه الجمعية لأنني متأكدة من فائدة المشاريع التي أنجزتها هذه المؤسسة، وأرجو من أصدقائنا المشاهدين أن يدعموا هذه الجمعية حتى تكمل عملها النبيل وترفع من مستوى الطب في بلادنا عن طريق التعليم، خاصة مع انتشار وباء الكورونا. ولا تنسوا شهر رمضان على الأبواب، لذلك بدنا همتكم ومساعداتكم.
But it was truly a beautiful video clip with her speech. And for those who want the subtitles retranslated into Arabic, what she was referring to is Sahlab, Sahlab, Hamla Yamalane, Asabi' al-Bubu Yakhyar, Wabattikh al-Sikkin. For those who have experienced the Nablus Souk will well understand what this is all about. Okay, so just before we introduce our next speaker, I would like to take a moment to thank Layal Mushtat, who has worked tirelessly over the last month to help produce and edit our video clips. The best is yet to come when you will see a video show of old Palestine played during the national anthem. Layal is based in London. She is a filmmaker and video editor. She graduated with a degree in film and television from the University of Arts in London in 2019. She has always been an advocate for Palestine and a supporter of FQMS. So thank you very much, Layal, for all your hard work. Our next speaker is Professor Khalil Ibrahim Issa, who is also a Nabulsi. You can see a theme here. Who is Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences at An Najah National University. Professor Issa is also a senior consultant in orthopedic surgery, and he specializes in reconstructive and spinal surgery. He is currently a member of the Palestinian Supreme Health Council and also the Palestinian Medical Council and its Orthopedic Scientific Committee. He was an establishing member and former Chief Executive Officer and Chief Medical Officer of An Najah University Hospital and a close friend of the FQMS family. Please join me in welcoming Professor Issa, who will be telling us about the medical school in Nablus.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. Seeing here smiling and happy faces who were just watching the video of Nablus, Khalil and Najah. She was very furious about seeing this and memorizing her memories. Dr. Mamdouh Al-Akir is here too, and he's also happy and for seeing all of this. And I'm happy seeing all our friends here and colleagues that who I met in London about 2 years ago, who welcomed me so much warmly when there was the event that welcomed me in London at FQMS charity institution. Actually, I'm so much proud being here and honored being in front and between you. Just talking about Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences, we have been restructured in 2011 so that together all health sciences programs, but actually health sciences programs started at An Najah University in 1994 and it continued till last year, and now having about 14 undergraduate and 14 postgraduate health sciences programs, 6,000 students nowadays, and we're having 5 departments in this faculty, namely Department of Medicine, Biomedical Sciences, Applied and Allied Medical Sciences, Nursing and Pharmacy. Our students, and I'm talking now about students of program of human medicine, they are so much peculiar students. They go through their study for 6 years, and actually they come from a very distinguished scientific background, the best of students in Palestine. And we are so much proud that students from historical Palestine, coming from cities in the depth of Palestine to study medicine at An Najah University and at Al-Quds University also. And we, of course, see them as a marker of An Najah and Medical School because we don't have access to other countries. Other countries don't have access to Palestine to let students come here. But actually, students from historical Palestine, they have a success rate of 98% at the exam inside Palestine. And actually, students who are doing the ECFMG USMLE exam get about 95% success rate. Of course, we don't need any student or graduate to go outside of Palestine, but this is a marker that they go and have their specialties outside, and they come back with highly specialized competences, being the best of the best. FQMS, what can we say about FQMS? It's a huge support, huge loving relation, and actually it's a willing support that the Palestinian students are capable of going outside Palestine to every part in the world. They went to all continents through the support program from FQMS, having their electives there for 2 months after their 4th or 5th year. They went everywhere. They went to Britain, they went to the United States, to Canada, to Malaysia, to South Africa. They went to Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, Turkey, Germany, wherever you can imagine. What's very important for us is mainly 2 things. First, that our students get involved to the medical structure in the world, to the medical environment in the worldwide. They go to know about how medicine teaching and practice practicing worldwide. But the other important thing is that they get so much confident about their schools of medicine in Palestine because they see that their schools are up to the standards and up to the international standards. FQMS has supported a lot also. They supported scholarships as their bursaries and Madrina scholarships for students who are in need and who are also very well doing in their medical study. And last year, they have so much generously donated. I say you have generously donated the An Najah for An Najah University and Al-Quds University that made a lot of difference in education, and especially in this era that we are facing with Corona and COVID-19. Our School of Medicine is now distinguished, and we are applying for the international accreditation. Of course, we are accredited by the WHO, but with the new era, we need to have more accreditation from the WFME, which is the Federation of Medical Education. And we have applied our self-evaluation report, and we are just waiting for the visit of the team from Turkey, Tibdad, just to continue evaluation of medical program. Recently, we have established a medical education office at Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences. We have established a research unit at Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences, and each graduate of each program at this faculty needs to have a research project so that they can be graduated after these research projects. These research projects are important in serving medicine and national and social and environmental interests of on national and international levels. Of course, I know that time is having so much limitation for us to talk. We can't stop talking about medical schools in Palestine, about An Najah University in Nablus, and actually I will end that say An Najah University started decades, even 100 years ago, to be now the biggest university in Palestine, and it was a capital for education and culture, as Nablus is a capital for education and culture. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for all who are present in this meeting, and I hope that everybody is so much keen to support medical schools in Palestine all the time. Thank you very much.
Professor Issa, thank you so much for that enlightening talk and for telling us about the amazing progress that the medical school has made, and also how wonderful the medical students from An Najah University are progressing and certainly flying the flag rather of success. Professor Issa will be joining us again for the Q&A session, so if you have any questions for him, please save them till then. Thanks again. We next have an interlude where we will play Omar Kamal's beautiful rendition of the Palestinian national anthem, Mawtani. Many of you would know that Omar Kamal hails from Nablus and has been dubbed the Palestinian Frank Sinatra with very good reason. He has a truly amazing voice. But before we play the national anthem, we have a surprise guest appearance by none other than our celebrity musician Omar Kamal himself.
Good evening. I'm very happy to join you tonight in celebration of our beloved Nablus in this Umaiyeh Nablusiyeh, or Nablusiyeh as we say in Nablus. When Lina and Ahmed first approached me about this, I must say I was a little bit worried about appearing on camera with my overgrown lockdown hair. But looking at some of you tonight, it seems I have very little to worry about. I'm joking, of course. You all look wonderful, and especially you, Imm Ali. I hope you're watching. I don't know if many of you remember a few years ago when I joined FQMS to sing Mawtani on stage in one of their gala dinners in London. And I still remember the feeling to this day of everyone joining in, standing up and singing along. And it seems only fitting that tonight we pay tribute to Nablus by playing a song written by one of its finest exports, the celebrated Ibrahim Tuqan. And I was asked to recite a passage, my favorite passage, from the poem Multani, before we play a recording that we made of Multani about 10 years ago now. Before we carry on, I must ask you all to continue your support for the FQMS family and support their efforts in medical education, because education is our path for a better future, or any future at all. موطني موطني الشباب لن يكل همه أن يستقل أو يبيد. نستقي من الردى ولن نكون للعدا كالعبيد. لا نريد ذلنا المؤبدا وعيشنا المنكدا. لا نريد بل نعيد مجدنا التليد. موطني موطني.
موطني موطني الجلال والجمال والثناء والبهاء في رباك في رباك، والحياة والنجاة والهناء والرجاء في هواك في هواك. هل أراك سالما منعما وغانما مكرما، سالما منعما وغانما مكرما. هل أراك في علاك تبلغ سماك تبلغ سماك. موطني 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 الشباب لن يكل همه أن يستقل أو يبيد أو يبيد. نستقي من الردى ولن نكون للعدا كالعبيد كالعبيد. لا نريد ذلنا المؤبدا وعيشنا المنكدا. ذلنا المؤبدا وعيشنا المنكدا. لا نريد بل نعيد مجدنا التليد مجدنا التليد. موطني موطني الحسام واليراع لا الكلام والنزاع. رمزنا رمزنا مجدنا وعهدنا وواجب من الوفا يهزنا يهزنا. عزنا تشرف وراية ترفرف. غاية تشرف وراية ترفرف. يا هنا في علا طاهرا
let me first thank Ahmed for chairing the first part of our webinar. And thank you, Khalid, as well, for the technical support despite the difficulties, and also for all the contributors so far. Of course, thank you for a very special audience. We can see you, but we can't hear you, but hopefully we can later during the Q&A at the end. Now, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, and it is actually with great genuine pleasure that I introduce Dr. Umaiyeh Khammash. I've known Umaiyeh since the end of 1988, when he and a small group of very special, like-minded, community-focused professionals, including Dr. Mustafa Barghouti, Jumana Audil, Rita Jakaman, and others, who welcomed me as a newcomer to Jerusalem when I worked there in Maqasid for 4 years. At the time, I remember distinctly the outreach voluntary primary care clinics that were run by Medical Relief, which Umaiyeh co-founded, providing care to isolated and distant Palestinian towns and villages when travel was severely restricted during the first Intifada. That was a very difficult time, but it was also an extraordinary time because there was immense solidarity between the community, people in the community, and also institutions, and there was very much a genuine hope for change. Times remain difficult at the moment, but I can still remember how special it was to take part in it at the time. Going back to Umaiyeh, though largely brought up in Jerusalem, Umayyeh's father's family is actually from Nablus as well, and he's a relative of Imm Ali's, so we have full house today. Prior to taking up his current post as director of our partner, Juzoor, for Health and Social Development, Umaiyeh has held a number of important roles, including for the last 12 years as Director of Health in the West Bank for UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, which was set up after the Nakba in 1948. Umaiyeh is a doctor, a civil society activist, a reformer, an educator, a human rights advocate, and also a supporter for gender equality, with many national and international links. He's therefore ideally placed to discuss the challenges facing health services in Palestine. I invite you to listen carefully to his pre-recorded thoughtful analysis. And if we can't hear any sound, I hope Umaiyeh is there and can step in himself and give it live.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues. I would like first to express my gratitude to organizer for giving me the opportunity to address this event.
Dr. Umaiyeh, sorry to interrupt you. Is there any chance we could have the video on, or are you not able to switch your video on at the moment?
Well, I'm having some trouble with this. I don't know why, from where. Anyway.
Sorry, carry on.
Well, I decided to speak about the Palestinian health system and the challenges that are facing the system and provide some recommendation for action. In fact, the Palestinian health system has witnessed a positive transformation over the last several years, and there has been an improvement. This transformation has been evident in the positive enforcement of the health indicator, in line with the developmental goal set by World Health Organization. The health system has recorded improvement of the life expectancy of individuals, and we have decrease in percentage of infant and child mortality and decrease in the percentage of maternal mortality. Additionally, the health system has improved its monitoring system on epidemic and disease control and has improved its facility infrastructure. However, there are several factors continue to severely undermine the ability of Palestinians to build on and improve their healthcare system. These factors, the first factor obviously is the Israeli occupation and its impact on human security, health, and well-being. The Palestinian National Authority has little control over land, resources, water, infrastructure, which are key determinants of health. The other important factor is that the health system in Palestine is fragmented at the geographic, institutional, and organizational level. This fragmentation makes it challenging for the Ministry of Health to formulate strong strategy and coordinate stakeholders fragmented health sector with multiple actors, which often challenge the effective alignment with the overall national health development. Third important factor, the lack of clear policy for healthcare human resource to help address the imbalance of health workforce, improve quality of service, and foster implementation of future development. The fourth important factor is financial barrier in access to care, wherein direct out-of-pocket payment represent the largest source of healthcare financing in Palestine. Out-of-pocket expenditure reach up to 40%. A study suggests that more than 13 of individuals fell into poverty, and another 13 fell into extreme poverty as a result of the out-of-pocket expenditure. Dependency on donor funding, another important factor. Poor quality of health service, which has led to the increase in the referral patient to non-Palestinian facility for adequate health services, another important factor. There is a rising burden of non-communicable disease, NCDs, such as cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and diabetes and cancer. This trend, in line with the neighboring country, is a product of a nutritional and epidemiological transition arising from exposure to Western diet and increasing ease of access to unhealthy food and other lifestyle change. The overall disease burden has shifted away from infection and disease-related undernutrition towards obesity and NCDs, which we call the epidemiological transition. Another important factor that contributes to ill health in Palestine is the food insecurity. An estimated of 1/3 of Palestinian households are food insecure. This leads to a double burden of malnutrition, anemia, stunting, obesity, and overweight. Although life expectancy has increased substantially, the measure does not reveal whether the years lived are healthy and enjoyable. Palestinian quality of life is low and their daily lives are under threat. In a population exposed to a political violence and war, exposure to traumatic event is strongly associated with poor psychosocial and mental health. This is the case in Palestine, yet the integration of mental health into health system is still inadequate. Although there are sufficient doctors per capita, yet the system suffers from acute shortages of subspecialists, mostly due to brain drain. Some of the recommendations that I would like to provide here to act on to improve the health system. First, the role of Ministry of Health. Through continuous evaluation and lesson learned from experiences in other countries over the past several years, it has been proven the importance of shifting from effort of ministry from service provision to more effective role in policy and strategy development at national level. Organizing the various sectors of the health and setting standards rather concentrating on service provision is something very important to consider. Second, consolidate and strengthen effort to move away from dependency of outside services and improve the capacity of the system to manage within the Palestinian healthcare system, what we call توطين الخدمات, or making the service inside, or making most of the services depend on the system, which require complementation and efficient use of resources by Palestinian healthcare provider, improve the quality and develop human resources, which are all these essential, and in particular, specialists and subspecialists. Of course, rationalization of healthcare and health facility network is another important recommendation, because the system needs regulation, not just really expansion without really taking in consideration complementing or supporting the already existing, or adding a center of excellence to enhance the quality of facility and partnership. Now, tertiary care, one should examine whether Ministry of Health should continue to run service tertiary of care or shift this service to private and NGO facility and act only to regulate the overall system. The quality of health system is definitely another important area to consider. And one should really look to family practice, implementation of family practice approach, and full integration of NCD are key national priority policy for promoting well-being as well as reducing the financial strain on government finance. Scaling up action against NCDs is urgently needed to halt the tsunami effect of NCD on people, family, and community. And finally, I would like to say that strengthening primary health care is the most inclusive, effective, and efficient approach to enhance people's physical and mental health, as well as the social well-being, because primary health care is the cornerstone of any sustainable health system development for universal health coverage and health-related sustainable development goal. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope we all can act on these recommendations and other recommendations. But certainly, of course, this is a big issue and big topic, and it's just shedding some light on the system as well on some of the recommendations. By the way, these recommendations also have been debated and discussed by the Palestinian Health Policy Forum, an important forum which led by one of the leaders, Dr. Mamdouh Al-Akir, who is, I'm happy that he's here, contributed to these recommendations. Thank you very much all.
Thank you very much, Umaiyeh, for this superb overview.
Thank you, and thank you, Lina, for this nice introduction about me. I think much appreciate.
I think it was highly deserved. Thank you. So if people have questions for Umaiyeh, because he's raised some maybe unexpected recommendations, including the discussion about where subspecialty services should be provided. Please, if you have any questions, please indicate that on the chat now so that our chair, Khalid, is ready to ask you to pose the question when we come to the Q&A. So before I introduce also our final speaker, I'd like us to share again the two art pieces that we are auctioning and tell you a little bit about the artist. As you know, the first of the paintings is of Al Nasr Mosque in Nablus, and the other is of the Old City. You can see that there are two of the pictures that give you a close-up, and you'll see how detailed these paintings are. Now, the artist is Molly Turner. She's a young artist and teacher based in Newcastle, and she has an amazing eye for accuracy and detail, and she has a love of urban landscape and architecture. In fact, even the satellite dishes and the water tanks on the rooftops are of interest in these paintings. I can tell you that the bidding has already started for the very special Old City view, and there's likely to be quite a lot of competition for it. So if you like it, see if you can outbid or outsmart the others. I'd also like to promote the one of An Nasr Mosque as well. Maybe your family has an Old City home a family home in the Old City in Nablus, right by that mosque. So why not bid for it? I suspect you'd probably be able to get it close to the opening price. So I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Naim Qamhia. Naim is one of our postgraduate subspecialty trainees. I remember being very impressed when we interviewed Naim in Ramallah at Juzoor headquarters a few years ago for this scholarship. And indeed, his trainers in Bristol have also been very impressed with him. He and the other trainees through this Juzoor FQMS scholarship program have always done us proud. They've been the cream of the cream. And I believe that they will, as a group, be the future leaders of medicine in the West Bank. Unfortunately, the program has not yet started with Gaza trainees because they have had difficulty surpassing the language barrier that is needed before people can do hands-on training in the UK, but maybe that will change in the future. But I'll say no more. I'll let Naim tell his own story. Naim, over to you.
Good evening. My name is Naim and I am a histopathologist. For those who are not familiar with this specialty, my work involves using the microscope to examine tissue samples taken from patients and give a diagnosis so that they can get the right treatment. I grew up in Nablus and I studied at its schools. And in 2005, I started medical school at the An Najah National University. At that time, the university hospital was not yet established. We did our practical training at different Ministry of Health hospitals in Northern West Bank. And in 2011, I graduated from medical school and we were the third year group to complete both the basic and practical stages at the An Najah Medical University. Now, afterwards, I moved to Jordan where I specialized in histopathology. And after 4 years of training, I got the Arab Board certificate in histopathology. I then did 2 more years of fellowship training in cancer pathology at King Hussein Cancer Center, which is one of the most remarkable medical centers in the region. I learned a lot in that place and people were very helpful. Even after I had finished my training, they were happy to help whenever I faced a difficult or complex case. Now, after 6 years of training, I went back to Nablus and I started working as a histopathologist at the An Najah National University Hospital. And by then, it has become one of the biggest tertiary medical centers where people from different cities of Northern West Bank were referred for treatment. Now, one day, I received a biopsy of a patient which looked very abnormal. I could tell that there was a tumor, but I was not able to give an exact diagnosis. And despite the limited resources we had, I tried every relevant test available at our department, but I was not able to reach a diagnosis. I also tried to consult other pathologists, but they were not able to help me either. Now, these cases require doctors with special expertise in hematopathology, which is blood pathology. And even in the UK, they get referred to bigger tertiary centers providing these kind of specialized services, but in our case, we were that referral center. Now, after a few days, the patient's son called me and told me that his father was not doing well, and that clinicians were waiting for a diagnosis to start treatment. I had to tell him that I was not able to diagnose his father's condition, but I told him that I will do my best to try and help him. Now, at that moment, I really felt helpless. Despite all the training I had, I was not able to provide help for a patient who needed it. So we made the arrangements and sent that sample to King Hussein Cancer Center in Jordan. But the sample was delayed on the borders. It took a while until it reached Jordan and then for us to get an answer back, which caused even further delays in treatment of that patient. Now, unfortunately, this is a very common situation we used to face. And no matter how urgent the case was, there were always delays and difficulties. And this was because of the complex situation of our borders caused by the Israeli occupation. And that is apart from the high cost that accompanies this whole process. Now, I thought to myself, what happened was not only a result of our limited resources and complex political situation, it was also due to the lack of our experience as medical professionals. So I realized there was much more that I needed to do. And there's a lot that I need to learn, and able to be capable of dealing with such complicated cases and spare these patients all the suffering in these difficult times. Now, the problem was that getting sub-specialized training is quite tricky and there are not many opportunities available. I tried to contact many histopathology departments in the UK, but I was not able to secure a training post on my own. Then I heard about this program of postgraduate medical training sponsored by Juzoor and FQMS. So I thought I'd give it a try. So I applied for the program and I was lucky enough to get accepted. And I was offered a fellowship position in hematopathology, which is blood cancer diagnosis in North Bristol NHS Trust, which is one of the largest tertiary centres in the southwest region of UK. I'm now doing my second year of sub-specialty training there. And to be honest, it has been quite a different experience to what I have had before. I'm now dealing with a wide variety of complex cases. We're using the most advanced medical technologies in the world, and I'm working with people of high level of experience, some of which are considered the best in their field in the region. So hopefully this experience will allow me to enhance my medical knowledge and skills, and will also enable me to establish links with centers of excellence that might benefit our country in the future. So my hope is, when I go back to Palestine, I can use this experience to provide better healthcare for our people. I would be able to help in diagnosing difficult medical conditions, and I would also be able to help in training other doctors in the field of histopathology. I believe that every one of us is able to participate in creating a better future of healthcare in Palestine in a way that will minimize our dependence on others. I believe it's our duty, and it's the least we can do to support our country and our people's resilience. I hope you all stay safe and life goes back to normal soon, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naim, for this very moving presentation. Thank you for sharing your experiences and difficulties in the past. I'd like at this moment to invite our speakers, Dr Khalil Issa, Dr Umaiyeh Khammash, Dr Naim Qamhia, and my co-chair Ahmed to come back to the panel, and so we can have a question and answer session. I'd also like Ahmed to start with the first question. I believe you had a question for Dr Khalil, Ahmed.
Yes, thanks again for your contribution this evening. Professor Khalil, I'm intrigued at how you managed to deal with the challenges of COVID when it came to undergraduate training specifically. In the UK, COVID has had a huge impact on the way we've had to deliver undergraduate training, mainly because of restrictions on the number of students that can attend clinics, the social distancing, the number of people who can be in any one room, and so forth. To what extent has COVID had an impact on the way you've delivered the curriculum, particularly for the clinical part of the training? And also, what measures did you have to take to circumvent these?
Thank you. This is so much challenging. Actually, in the start, when we faced this problem, we recognize that we are not alone in the world. Actually, we are part of the whole world's problem. An Najah University was so much ready with its e-learning center that was so much well established before. And so when we went into online Zoom lecturing, we were ready to do this. And so what we did at that time is that we made a blended learning and made a split between what's going in purely clinical need to be in hospital and what can be done outside hospital. And so at that time, when our students were spending about 5 hours in the hospital between 8 and 1 or 2 before they take their lectures, what we did is that we just make them more than one group, like 3 or 4 hours for each specific time, just to see the patients, to see the files, to go and do their history physical examination. And after that, we made the discussion, brainstorming, analysis, and whatever that was needing, just a group discussion with their tutors to be done online. So that we were able to split the groups which were like done for 6 students. So we split them into 3 and 3, for example. And so we made the less presence of students in hospitals. That helped us so much in this in dealing with this clinical era.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to ask you, Naim. Actually, no, Sarah Al-Gindi, you have your hand up. Would you like to ask the next question? No, okay, no problem. Thanks. Okay, so Naim, I wanted to ask you, people worry about brain drain, something that Umaiyeh has mentioned. Apart from legally binding contracts, what do you think would make people go back who've, talented people who are training as subspecialists?
Oh,
Naim?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think that if anyone of the medical graduates, the local medical graduates, we do our training in As I said, we did it in Ministry of Health hospitals, and whoever works there will easily realize the suffering and the bad condition of the medical services in general in our country, and the need of enhancement. And I think, well, all of us have relatives and people living there, and we've lived that reality. So we know that our country really needs anyone with who can help, who can help these patients, help in improving this healthcare system in our country. So I think it's not just a legal binding; it's more kind of a moral responsibility, or something that comes from within, rather than an imposed legal agreement that makes us go back. Besides,
Khubayb has a question, and then we have some questions from Umaiyeh. Can you unmute Khubayb, please, Khalid?
Hello, good evening, everyone. I just have a comment on the question to Naim, if that's okay. Could you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Khubayb Ayoub, one of the doctors doing the scholarship, FQMS Juzoor scholarship in endocrinology and diabetes at King's College Hospital. So I think one of the important things, as more than what Naim has said, is the improvement that we can ourselves make to the health system in Palestine when we go back, as well as the help from FQMS, Juzoor, and other organizations to do that change. Because I mean there should be a sustainable change in the health system improvement to help people coming back and prevent brain drain outside of Palestine. That's a very important step. For people, as Naim said, when you come back, you need all these infrastructure for health system, all these lab work, all these policy changing, all these health insurance cover. So I think that these are important things that we need the trainee that had the opportunity to train in a different health system here, when we come back, to transfer all these experiences to our health system in order to lead to sustainable stay at home.
Thank you very much, Khubayb. Thank you. Ahmed, you have a question for Umaiyeh.
Yes, Umaiyeh, could you please elaborate on why you think the tertiary services should be provided in the private sector? It seems at odds to suggest that, given that these are likely to be very expensive treatments, which will become unaffordable if they are truly provided in the private sector, not as part of a national health service.
Well, I'm not saying by only private sector. I'm saying by private sector and NGO and charitable organization. Because, by the way, today, like 60% of services and more of tertiary services are already provided by NGOs and tertiary and charitable organization and private sector. What I'm saying is because Ministry of Health is overloaded by many other priorities and cannot still sustain even the primary health care need. So I believe it is, and this is something from experiences elsewhere in the world, had showed that if you shift the role of Ministry of Health from being but really working on policy and regulating the system and little investing in services, will be more cost effective. Because if Ministry of Health need to bring specialists and sub-specialists and bring all these very sophisticated equipment, this will be a financial burden as well as management and logistic burden. However, the role of Ministry of Health will remain important in regulating and in overseeing the whole process. And at the end of the day, today, all tertiary care services, or many of tertiary care services, is already covered by Ministry of Health, even at private and at the NGO hospital, through the insurance system. So it's about really having clear role for Ministry of Health and not to be engaged in heavily in services. This is my views based on international experience.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense. But do you, so the current system is that people buy into that insurance. It's not through taxation. So people have to subscribe for health insurance, which is part funded by government. Is that how the system works?
Well, that's the issue, and what I mentioned, 40% of pocket expenditure. This is a reflection that still, despite that there is health insurance and despite there is intervention by the government, that people spend from their own pocket like 40% on treatment. So if they spend already 40% on treatment, this will be rationalized or will be monitored by the government, rather than really giving, so it maybe would reduce that burden.
Thank you.
Thank you, Umaiyeh. I mean, it's very revealing when you said that people have gone out of pocket and have been bankrupt because of having to pay for healthcare. And you can imagine a father with lots of children deciding whether a father or a mother or a sister is going to be supported or left untreated. I think it's very, very hard.
And this is in particular with an increase of NCDs, hypertension, diabetes, and cancer, and cardiovascular diseases. This type of shift, really, it's going to have distracting the Palestinian society and the economy, and of course, ability of people to sustain the health, not only to sustain their lives and also to sustain the health system, because this makes it very expensive. Today, we speak about like 20% of the Palestinian population are suffering from diabetes, which lead to premature death, premature disability. When disability, there is a disability, this means that people are going to poverty.
Yeah, and of course, diabetes is partly, maturity onset diabetes is partly avoidable. Khalil, the elective program, we have always been so impressed by how much of an insight it gave our students to go abroad. But I can also see that internal electives could help foster relationships between doctors, because at the moment, the doctors in Nablus, graduating in Nablus, don't know the doctors that's graduating in Al-Quds nor Gaza. And it, you know, maybe internal electives, given how many students there are and that it's impossible to support all of them abroad, could help. What do you feel about that?
Of course, like electives is so much broad and important course in surgical and non-surgical specialties, as it gives the students the opportunity to go for what they feel they like to know more about, and the institutions that they feel just to dig more deep about their knowledge of how they work. And so students like from Nablus who like to go to see how things are going at Maqasid Hospital or Augusta Victoria Hospital, for example, they can go there. And on the other hand, students from Al-Quds University who did a lot at Al-Maqasid, for example, can come to northern governorances of Palestine. This is so much integrated and intermingling experiences that they do have. Actually, also electives by students like, for example, from Nazareth or Haifa or other places in historical Palestine, they go to do their electives at hospitals there so that they get more information about how the system works. And this makes them so much comfortable being back to work with their environment. So this is so much important course to be done inside and outside Palestine.
Thank you. And Umaiyeh, $1 million question. What happens to UNRWA? What do you think will happen to UNRWA? Is it going to survive?
Well, this is difficult for me really to answer. It's more of a political question. Of course, there is now a lot of forces that is trying to undermine the role of UNRWA. And this is obviously by cutting funds from UNRWA. UNRWA is struggling to survive these days and are not able to provide the full services. And they are trying, pushed by different political forces, to push UNRWA today to hand over some of its services to the Palestinian Authority. And this is by itself, it's a political issue. So it is important really to sustain UNRWA, to keep advocate for really keeping UNRWA for refugee population. I think this is a key issue. Well, I don't know, this is difficult really to answer from our side, as we want UNRWA to continue its services.
Dina, can I have a 1 minute comment of on what has just been talked about, just for 1 minute?
Yes. My co-chair is saying, please wrap up soon, Lina, but I will in the next 4 minutes. But if you want 1 minute, please go ahead.
Just 1 minute. Thank you very much. Actually, as a representative of An Najah University, I just want to say that as An Najah established the first university hospital in Palestine, it worked a lot for recruitment of Palestinian specialists who have very recognized and peculiar specialties that they were practicing outside Palestine in developed world, and that made them come back to Palestine and work in such an institution like An Najah University Hospital. So this supports a lot what our friends and graduates Khubayb and Qamhia said. Yeah, and Naim Qamhia said that it was a very quantum leap what happened in Palestine in this purpose. On the other hand, what Dr. Umaiyeh said about primary healthcare in Palestine, and Najah is so much contributing with even establishment of family medicine program in Palestine that have been established more than 10 years ago, and now we are working hand in hand in this in empowerment of primary healthcare programs in Palestine. So what I meant to say that educational institutions have so much a good role if they put on their between their eyes these objectives to enforce health system in Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next webinar, which will be focused on Gaza on the 27th of March. So let me thank all the speakers again for superb contributions, and also for the audience for their patience, for sticking with us till the end, despite the delay and despite the difficulties. I think we can now wrap up the meeting, and goodbye to all from the FQMS family.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
I will try to unmute everybody if they want to speak.
Yes, do, please. Silence. Okay.
This could be a real party.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, this is Maysoon. I'd like to thank you for a wonderful, successful meeting, a fundraising meeting, and I'm glad I attended and would like to attend the next one on the 27th of March. If you are going to invite me, I mean, if the ambassador is there, I'd like to buy a ticket. Especially that I am from Gaza, so I'd like to be there with you. So please remember me next time. It's a wonderful one. I enjoyed the speakers. I enjoyed everything. Well done. I mean, despite all the technical difficulties, but it was fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the speakers and the organizers. Okay, well done.
Thank you, Maysoon, and thank you.
Okay.
Of course, there's no. We don't have to. We don't even have to go into it. Of course, you're invited. You're very welcome.
No. I'd like to contribute, and I'd like to buy a ticket next time, please. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks, Lena.
Well done, brilliant event.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Well done.
Bye-bye.
And I see Mamdouh eating nuts there.
Yes, yes.
We must remember
Full of nuts.
You.
My love, Dahoud.
Yes, nice to see you. And Liz.
Liz Ayman, doing neurosurgery. Hello. How are you getting on? He's muted.
Ayman, you can unmute yourself. Ayman, you need to unmute yourself.
No good.
Okay, I'll ask you again. There you go. Try again.
Hi. Hi, everyone. So this is Ayman. Hi, Colin. Good evening. Hi, Khalid. I'm so happy. I am so happy to meeting you all and talking to all of you today. So I am currently doing a neurosurgery at Maqasid Hospital in Jerusalem, and it is going really well. And I'm just missing you, Mr. Colin, and Mr. Khalid, Lena, and every one of you.
Thank you. I just want to tell everybody that Sosan has just made a big donation to FQMS after this event, and we're very, very grateful to her. And let me encourage everybody to do the same and encourage their friends to support us as well, so we can continue to do the work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sosan.
Thank you.
As always.
Thank you.
As always, really.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to Lena and Khalid and Professor Colin, of course, and Liz. And we must remember Rita as well.
Of course.
Yes.
Rita. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Rita.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I had it in my script, but I forgot to. My apologies. Thank you very much for all the work behind the scenes. Greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Thanks for all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye, Suhair. Suhair.